It's summertime, and there's never been a better time to join America Online.
I planned all my vacations on AOL.
I use AOL to get driving directions.
Email is fast, it's easy.
And now, with the AOL Mobile Communicator, you can send and receive instant messages and email while away from your computer.
Wherever I go, I stay connected with everyone in my life.
It's really easy to stay in touch.
To order, go to AOL keyword Mobile Communicator or call 1-800-4ONLINE. America Online. So easy to use, no wonder it's #1.
Welcome back to the Road to City Hall. If you take the 7 train into Queens, you'll find a city council race heating up in the western area of the borough and District 26. Tonight, we are joined by the candidates. Joining me tonight, Joe Connolly, Matt Farrell, Michael Kearney, Patrick O'Malley, and joining us from the NY-1 newsroom, Eric Joya. Good evening, all.
Good evening, Dominic.
Eric, let me begin with you.
Okay.
A big problem in your district happens to be the issue, and it's also citywide, of affordable housing. But how do you deal with the issue, and is there a legitimate concern that folks will get priced out of the district?
It's a huge concern, Dominic. I grew up in a neighborhood. I was born and raised there. And I have to tell you, when I talk to my neighbors, my friends, my family, my neighbors, they tell me every day that, you know, they could be 2 or 3 paychecks away from having to leave their homes. Rent, unfortunately, is over half their income. I speak to senior citizens in Sunnyside and Woodside and Long Island City, and they tell me, and it's terrible to think in our city where more wealth has been created in this decade than any other time in history, that there are people in our district, right here in Queens, who have to make a choice between paying rent, buying prescription drugs, or putting food on their table. It's a real problem. It's reached epidemic proportions, and it's something that everyone in this city must be focused on. Well, how do we do it? Well, first, we expand SCREE, the Senior Citizen Rent Increase Exemption. Second, we expand SHE. Third, we build more affordable housing. This has to become a priority for not just in this district, but for anybody who's running in New York City this year, for every public official.
Okay, thank you. Matt, how do you deal with the problem?
I agree 100% that we need to make sure that we take SCREE to a new level, increase the eligibility requirements. We need to make sure and encourage development in our district. I think Long Island City provides us with a unique opportunity to develop affordable housing here in the city of New York, and I think it's now time that we as elected officials look at this and say, here, we have the ability to make development here in Long Island City for affordable housing for working families in our city.
Joe?
The problem is the competition for space. Right now in Queens, we're at 2% of vacancy. There's a real need for housing. Where's the housing going to come from? Most recently on the Queens West site, we lobbied for 20% set aside for senior housing. And that needs to be part of every development to say, how do we take care of our seniors? How do we make housing more affordable? So the question is, where are those risk takers? Where are those developers? Right now, the incentive is to build offices. It sounds sexy. It's where the economy's been going. But people are not focused on housing. We need to translate those same incentives that we give to commercial developers into housing development.
How big of a priority is this an issue, and what could you really do about it if elected to the council?
Dominic, it's a very big priority. Given the people who live in our district, working people, a tremendous amount of senior citizens and veterans, it's very important that affordable housing be provided, that housing be kept affordable. Updating SCREE is certainly a good idea, but you're also, what the district needs is a council member who's going to watch the development of Long Island City. I've been walking around down there in Hunters Point and surrounding areas, and people say, you know, there's a brand new building. It's a very nice building, very nice people living there, but there's been very few people from the community who have benefited, who have been able to take part in the housing that's going in there. So you need someone like myself who's going to fight, who's going to make sure that there's some sort of equity, that there's going to be affordable housing, and that Long Island City is not just going to be given over to developers and the real estate interests of this city.
Michael?
Dominic, of course, where I come from, a medical and background, I like an all-inclusive type of housing. Affordable housing should be extended to all sectors of our community, those with disabilities, low income, and we have one of the biggest housing developments in the United States, in Queensbridge and Ravenswood. I haven't just gone down there over the past 2 or 3 months because I'm running for City Council. I've been going down there for the past number number of years. I have a very good working relationship with the Housing Police Department down in these developments, and I think that we need to redevelop and revitalise the existing housing that we have and add an infrastructure and also some additional housing within the district. We have ample space, I feel, and I think that we should utilise that space as opposed to developing.
Mr. Connolly, is it accurate that you just recently moved into the district?
I've been working in this district for 20 years. I've been a resident of Queens for 20 years, and I moved into the council-managed district to fulfill the obligation required by law on April 6th. So I've been a full-time member of this community for almost 20 years. My record is very extensive. My record as far as commitment to the community and actions, and I just don't have a resume. I have a record of accomplishment.
Eric, it sounds like you're laughing at this.
Oh, was I laughing? I just thought his answer was funny. I mean, the question was, did he just move in? The answer is yes, he did. And Joe, I respect you. You have been a member of the business community in our neighborhood for quite a while. But, you know, you did just move in. And I mean,
Eric, I'm not a business, I've been a leader. And while you were in Washington, Eric, while you were in Washington worrying about stains on a dress, you should have been here at home doing something for the community. While you said you were out there working for Al Gore, what did you do for this neighborhood, Eric? You did nothing. You did absolutely nothing. You have a residency here. You have no record.
Joe, let's be fair for a second. Wait, Eric, Dominic, he's attacked me.
Okay, Eric, I'm going to let you respond, but I just want our audience to be able to follow what you just made reference to. Eric, you worked at the Clinton White House. And you worked in the legal department.
That's
and
right.
when you referred to the stain on the dress, you're talking about the Monica Lewinsky situation.
Correct.
Now, go ahead, Eric. You can respond.
I mean, Joe, I mean, clearly you're new to government and politics, but I think you've already started to act like a slick politician. You were asked a simple question, and I chuckled at your evasive answer. Now, for you to talk about me working in the White House, I'm proud of that. I'm a kid from Woodside. I went to public school. I worked my way through college, working nights as a janitor. I became an attorney, and I got a job in the White House. I'm very proud of that. To me, I live the American dream. And you're right. Last year, I did work very hard to elect Al Gore president. But I've been doing a lot in the neighborhood. You haven't lived in a neighborhood perhaps long enough to see what I've done.
So are you telling me that Hillary Clinton is a bad U.S. senator because she just moved to New York?
Joe,
are you telling me that Robert F. Kennedy was a bad senator because he just moved to New York, Eric?
Joe,
or are you going to focus on residential? Or are you going to say what has been your record of accomplishment?
If it's a question, I'll give you an answer, Joe. My office was next door to Mrs. Clinton's in the White House. I know Mrs. Clinton, and you are no Hillary Clinton, Joe. So I think you really got a tough argument there. Plus, this is a local seat that requires local knowledge of local issues. And I have to tell you, I mean, I know you're a real estate developer, and I know you have a lot of experience with land use issues and zoning, but no one's ever seen you shoveling your sidewalk. No one's ever been invited over your home for a barbecue. Why? Because simply you don't live there, Joe. And
Eric,
for you to say
during a snowstorm, shoveling sidewalks, I can show you many of sidewalks that I shoveled while you were off running around.
Perhaps in Floral Park, Joe, where your mansion is.
Why don't you go down and ask... Eric,
let's be fair, Joe. Let's be fair.
Ask the folks from LaGuardia Community College who cleared the sidewalks over the Queensboro Bridge.
Okay, guys, let me step in. Does anyone else here have a problem with the fact that he recently moved into the district?
I don't. I agree with Joe. I think, you know, we do have to establish that I'm a recent, not just a recent incomer to the district. I'm a naturalized citizen. I'm the second naturalized citizen that's running for City Council. I was born in Ireland. I'm in the district 11 years. Okay. Since I came here, I've been giving back to my community. I've been working with the community, with the various organizations, and I regard myself as being the community and the people's candidate. I'm also a party person, as are all of us, I expect here. And, you know, we want to give back to our community. That's why we have a willingness to serve. We want to represent our community in our district. And the thing is, you know, it goes on our record. What we've done over the number of years, we're replacing an incumbent who has a basic foundation, a good record in serving our people in the 26th district, and that's basically why we're here.
Other two?
I think this thing is essentially a non-issue. In fairness to Joe, it's a non-issue, and it's something of a red herring about having been born here. I myself am from another state. and I lived there with my parents, a very fine family, until I was 17 years old. And when I was 17, I moved to New York City. I'm now 34 years of age. I've been a fighter for this district both in its courtrooms as a crime-fighting prosecutor here in Queens, and also in its classrooms as a schoolroom teacher. So I really think it is something of a red herring, in fairness to Joe. I have gotten results. I think what has to be asked, Dominic, is where people have been for the last 8 years. I've been working for the Queens District Attorney's Office as a trial room prosecutor. I've been a school teacher in the South Bronx, and I've gotten results for people. What kind of results, you might ask, Dominic? Great results. I've made it so that Eric's grandparents are able to safely run a business on Roosevelt Avenue. I've made it safe so that Matt here can continue his studies at St. John's Law School, and obviously I've made it safe enough so that even Joe wants to move back to the district.
Let's hear from Matt before I move to my next question.
I just wanted to say that, you know, Pat brings up a great point. What have you done for the last 8 years? For the last 8 years, I'm the only candidate that's running that has worked in the City Council. I've been Chief of Staff to Council Member Karen Kozlowitz, who represents a district here in Queens. I know what the City Council is about. There's no learning experience with me. There's no learning curve. I've been in the City Council for the last 8 years. I know the job. I know what needs to be done. I've lived in this community for almost 10 years now, and I've served as a board of director on our local Democratic clubs, on our civic associations. I volunteer at the Sunnyside Community Services Center. I know this neighborhood, and I know the City Council, and I think this year, when we're losing our City Council members because of term limits, I think experience matters, and I'm the only one with experience in the City Council.
Eric, let me turn to you to begin, and it's a question for the 5 of you, and I want each of you to respond. Assuming, for the sake of argument, that you don't win,
Yes.
which of your 4 opponents would you feel the most comfortable with representing the council? Again, I know you're all going to tell me that you're going to win, but you're not all going to win. So if you don't, Eric, which one would you feel the most comfortable with?
Well, first of all, if I don't win, I mean, this race means a lot more to me than just winning. This neighborhood's important to me. I've lived here my entire life. My family's been here for 100 years, as Pat and I think maybe Matt alluded to. And I'll say that whether I win or lose, I will live in this neighborhood, and I will continue to try to make it the same great place it was when I grew up. But let me answer your question. It's a tough one, but I'll say that I think that Pat O'Malley and Michael Kearney both have real roots in the neighborhood, and both have done things. Michael said he's been in Queensbridge and Ravenswood. He's right. He has been. Pat, you know, worked in the DA's office. He did a really very fine job there. And I think both of them care enough about this community. Both of them have worked hard enough in this community and have lived long enough to experience what this community really is about. I think they'd both be fine city councilmen.
Okay, we have lots of questions for you, and this happens all the time, but I have very little time. So, Joe, go right ahead and give your response.
I would support Michael Kearney based on his involvement with the community. And Michael has been somebody that's worked with the Chamber of Commerce. He's worked on health issues, so I would feel comfortable with Michael. Michael's the only one besides myself that has any real record in the community, and that's what this is about. It's not about a resume or a puffed-up resume. It's about what have you done? Where were you yesterday? Where are you today, and how does the community know where you're going to be tomorrow?
Matt?
Michael Kearney is a fine individual, and I would support Michael Kearney.
Well, Dominic, I think what this district needs is a fighter, someone who's going to fight for everybody in every neighborhood across the entire district. I've got a record of results, as I said before, and I told you what kind of results. People have depended on me not only to get justice in the classroom, justice in the classroom and in the courtroom.
I'm running out of time, so I need a response.
If there were a gun to my head, because we're, of course, here to promote ourselves, I would have to say Michael. I love that accent.
You got the endorsement from the group here.
How am I going to respond?
Okay, well, let's hear your response so we can move on.
Well, you know, of all the candidates, the most familiar candidate that I am used to working with is Joe Connolly. With no disrespect to any of the other candidates, I've worked with Joe in the community board on various issues and different things in the past.
Now I'm going to move. We're going to pass all the questions that we have for you so you can ask a question of one of your colleagues. I'm going to begin with you, Matt. Keep your questions short, please, and the response has to be short. Go right ahead, Matt.
Thank you, Dominic. I have been in the City Council for the last 8 years as Chief of Staff to a council member. I know what it takes to be a council member. I know how long the hours are. I know what our businesses do here in our community, and they work long and hard. Michael, will you be a full-time legislator, being that you own a business in the neighborhood? I think our community deserves a full-time legislator, somebody that will be there day in and day out.
Quick response.
Yeah, absolutely. I've already redesigned my business so that, our business serves, we're a multi, we serve the Tri-Borough area and Nassau County. So we have a diverse, so I will be definitely a full-time, and my literature proves that, it hasn't been, some of it hasn't been sent out yet, but absolutely a full commitment.
Eric, you're up for your question. Go right ahead.
Well, Michael, I'd like to ask you a question as well. I know you've done great work with seniors in Sunnyside, and I share that commitment. I've been a volunteer driver for Sunnyside Meals on Wheels. I'd like to ask your expertise as a healthcare professional. How do you think the City of New York can better serve the health needs of our seniors in our district?
Okay, I would like to answer that very briefly, Eric, by saying that we need an expansion of the human services program that we currently provide. The Meals on Wheels program needs to be extended to incorporate weekends and also holidays, which we have been doing on a voluntary basis over a number of years. But also, I'd like to just set up a review board to extend the home care service, where we keep people out of extended care facilities, hospitals and nursing homes, to keep them in their home setting.
Patrick, quick question, quick response, whoever you ask your question to.
Quick question. Since it was brought up already and alluded to by Matt about being a full-time city councilman, my question, I guess, would be the same question Matt asked Michael. I'll ask Matt to answer his own question. Because you're going to be finishing up St. John's Law School, and I've been a practicing attorney here in New York for 9 years now, how are you going to be a full-time city councilman if you're finishing up law school and taking a few months off to study for the bar, given that this is a shortened term?
Go right ahead, Matt.
I am planning to graduate from law school this December, so my plan is to win this election, graduate from law school, and have a great swearing-in ceremony come January 1st.
Okay. Quickly, Michael, your question.
My question is transportation issues and education issues.
To who? But it really has to be fast.
Okay, to Joe. Joe, how are we going to deal with the transportation issues in our district, and how can we expand and improve on them? Not just as a transportation, but as a whole system, meaning roads and...
Go right ahead and respond.
What we have done is we went to Congressman Joe Crowley and Congresswoman Maloney and asked for $250,000 for a study to do the Long Island City links. As this new development comes online, we said, what do we do for above-ground transportation? Also, under the franchise, how do we get more buses onto the routes? How do we relieve this overcrowding and the skipping of bus stops? Those are the critical issues we have to look at.
In 20 seconds, you have the final question, Joe.
Eric, your claim that your expertise, your knowledge, how do you explain to the community your lack of understanding for zoning, and where were you during the time when we had this complex zoning issue that you couldn't take time to come and testify before the City Council on zoning issues?
Quick response.
No, Joe, I know you're a real estate developer who's
I'm not a real estate developer.
Well, actually, Joe, when you read your filing, when you read your filing, Joe, it seems that you'll take money from any real estate developer, lobbyist, lawyer,
Answer the question, Eric.
Well, it's true, Joe.
Okay.
I mean, well, your campaign is paid for by special interests. Well, I will answer the question.
Okay. I'm sorry I have to step in because we're out of time. Maybe we can have you back in the future. It's time for a break. Stay with us.
At NY-1, we have this city covered.
From the pros to the colleges, from the schools to the streets, there's always a great sports story in New York, and at NY-1, we cover them all.
Queens is the most ethnically diverse county in the country, and it's my job to cover all of the issues in the different communities. From Astoria to Bayside, whether it's breaking news or breaking ground, I'm there. Because at NY-1, we take each and every borough seriously.
NY-1, the only local news worth watching.
The hills are alive with the sound.
The joyous inspiration of the sound of music. The homespun fun of Oklahoma.
Sweeping down the plains.
And the exotic romance of The King and I. These classic films have been restored and remastered to preserve their vibrant colors, the brilliant performances, and the unforgettable music. Call now to own the most memorable musicals of all time in this special Rodgers and Hammerstein video collection.
Go! a dear, a female.
Through their remarkable music and lyrics, Rodgers and Hammerstein captured feelings of joy, laughter, and love.
Getting to know you.
Call the number on your screen now to order the Rodgers and Hammerstein video collection for $29.98 plus $5.95 shipping and handling. Or send a check or money order to the address shown. Call now.
This edition of Today in New York City History is sponsored by New York Presbyterian Hospital, the University Hospitals of Columbia and Cornell. Call 1-877-NYP-WELL or visit our website at www.nyp.org.
On August 1st, in 1936, just weeks after the Triborough Bridge opens, ferry service between Manhattan and Astoria ends. And in 1962, that famous Harlem eatery, Sylvia's, opens on Lenox Avenue. Today's New Yorker birthdays include two Brooklyn natives, actor Dom DeLuise, born in 1933, and former Senator Al D'Amato, born in 1937. That's today in New York City history.
Question: why do so many people trust Sleepy's? Perhaps because Sleepy's sells the world's finest quality mattresses at savings of 20% off other stores' advertised prices guaranteed, or the mattress is free plus $500. Sleepy's delivers when you want, everywhere, every day, and we guarantee your comfort. Sleepy's, 3 generations, 70 years, over 200 convenience stores, where the customer always comes first.
That is all the time we have tonight. If you want to sound off on city politics, let us know by sending an email to roadtocityhall@ny1.com or leave us a voice message at 212-279-2412. We'll put your comments on the air. For all of us here at New York One, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on the Road to City Hall.
Time to relax. What a time for bad heartburn. Try Extra Strength Mylanta. It works on tough nighttime heartburn fast. So go ahead, relax, if you can. Extra Strength Mylanta.